Welcome to My Dream Job Journey, a new kind of event from Adobe where we chat with special guests about how they achieved their dream careers. I'm your host, Katrina Torrijos, and I am the Adobe Creative Cloud Express Evangelist. Shout out to everybody who is hanging out with us today in chat. We got Michelle, Shanice, Skylar, what's up? Ashraful, hello. We have Ruhil. Oh my gosh, so many people in chat today. Hello. Where are y'all tuning in from? We have Selena from Atlanta, Ruhil from Belize, Lily from Victoria. Oh my gosh, so many people here. The chat is going so fast. Oh my gosh, so happy to have you all here with us today. And today we are joined by Fernanda Lopez and Mykal-Michele Longino, two brilliant creatives who landed amazing full-time roles after interning at large companies such as Tesla and Apple. We'll be doing a Q&A session today, and they'll also be taking us behind the scenes on how they use Creative Cloud Express to create some really cool projects. Hello, Trevon from Dallas, Marianne, Allison, Catherine. Oh my gosh, so many people in chat today. I'm so excited. This is going to be such a lit session. Okay, cool. Also, before I forget, stay tuned to the end of this session because we're having an after party in the Creative Career Discord server in the VC, and we'll be doing a giveaway where a few of you could be randomly selected for a mentoring session with Fernanda and Mykal-Michele and a free 1-year Creative Cloud license. So if you're new here and are unfamiliar with the Discord, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here is the Discord server, and as you can see, if you haven't joined yet, one of our mods will pop it into the chat to join the Discord server. And on the side here, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a dream job journey. You'll see the event info, challenge entries, panel questions, and then you'll see the party room, which is where we will be after the session. So if we don't get to your question during the live today, hop on over there, hang out with us. It's a bit more of a casual setting and you can ask your questions there. So I'm just gonna pop in. We have a few people here. Hello, what is up? Party room. Hello, thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you guys later, okay? Bye. So as you can see, it's super easy to join the room. You just click into it and you're joining the party. All right, we have Maria here. Hello. Hi, Sebastiana. Hello, Amber. Oh my gosh, the party is already started in the LinkedIn chat. I'm so excited. But yeah, I guess with that, Fernanda, Mykal-Michele, are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes, let's do it.
Get started.
So let's just start off with introductions. For those who are just meeting you today, who are you and what do you do? We'll start with Mykal-Michele.
Okay. So hi, everybody. It's so great to see everyone so active in the chat. My name is Mykal-Michele Longino. I am a senior English major at Spelman College, which is located in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from California, but grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. And like my title says, I am an incoming marketing specialist at Apple. And my previous internship experience started in the nonprofit sector at Van Darn Ballou doing digital marketing. And then I transitioned to Apple Music on the Shazam side, doing some product marketing / management. And then the following summer was growth marketing, and that's where I'll be returning. So I'm so excited to be here and excited to chat more.
Yay. I'm Fernanda. I was born and raised in Mexico, and I'm a recent graduate of Northeastern. I studied business there with a concentration in marketing and minor in psychology. So I've been very passionate about human behavior, user-centric design. I'm currently a design consultant at Adobe, specializing in UX, UI, CX, which I'll explain a little bit later. But I've been very grateful to have worked at companies like Tesla, Wunderkind, KKR, just amazing experiences to kind of discover what I really like to do, which is design. And I'm very passionate also about entrepreneurship. And throughout my time in college, I was able to work with communities that were focused in women-led entrepreneurship, which is definitely a big passion of mine.
Perfect. Thank you both so much for sharing. Okay, so I guess we can get started. I guess what I think I can speak for a lot of people in this room is just how did y'all get started in your career journey and going down this path? From landing like your internship, like and like when you were still a student in university and just wanted to go ahead and just get started on your career early.
I can start. So for me, as an English major, I actually started on a pre-law track. So in terms of getting started in this professional space, I was spending most of my energy trying to get into these pre-law programs during the summer. And when that didn't work out, I had to pivot and figure out what can I do that's next and quick, and where can I go? Well, they'll take a freshman. Like not that many places do. I ended up having to do some Googling and figure out where can I volunteer, where can I find a place that is willing to take someone with little to no experience. And that's how I landed the opportunity with Bandar Baloo, which was a nonprofit that sold art pieces. And I did the social media marketing. And that's honestly where I started getting into my creative space. But that taught me that I could really just try anything I wanted to. Like I didn't have to limit myself. And so then the following year, sophomore year, when it came time to internship season and figuring out where to apply, I did just that. I just Googled. I looked up where can I go? What can I do? I went to career fairs. And then I connected with an Apple recruiter. LinkedIn was a very big tool that I used, connecting and networking. And then once I got my foot in the door at Apple, the rest is kind of history. I learned that I really enjoyed the creative space. I loved marketing. It made me transition a little bit from the pre-law track. And then after I had a successful summer with Shazam, I had the opportunity to come back, but I thought, I want to try something different while I still have the chance. So that's where I pivoted to the growth marketing sector. And I was working on App Store and Apple Arcade notifications that get sent to your iPhone. So I just loved the collaboration aspect of it all. And in terms of like getting started, really just being curious is what attracted me to these roles.
I totally agree. I think curiosity and proactiveness are such important qualities to have in the job searching process. For me, it was a little bit early in my life. I was in high school when I first was looking for internships, and at that time in Mexico, I feel like I wasn't around a lot of opportunities in tech or something like software, which is definitely very prominent now. But back then, it was around 2017, and the oil and energy space in Mexico was booming. The energetic reform was going to happen, which meant foreign companies could come to the country and put their gas stations. And for that was really interesting for me to understand how the service industry would change. So I did my first internship at one of those companies as a trade marketing analyst. Honestly, had no idea what the title even meant back in the time. I just knew I was good with numbers, good with math, and really interested in marketing and creativity. And so from there, I then interned with a foreign company. And then by the time I joined Northeastern, I had a good idea that I wanted to go into marketing. But I must say that even though I really had amazing opportunities throughout college, joining clubs is such a good way to understand what you want in your career. Whether it's, holding a marketing position in a club, I joined the consulting club for a bit, and I was like, is this going to be my thing? I was a videographer at a fashion magazine, really trying to figure out not only my interests, but also how was my leadership style throughout the process, because I knew that would help me later in my career. And so Northeastern also has something amazing called the co-op program, which for those that don't know are basically 6 full-time internships that you have in breaks between studying and going to work. And so there's amazing partnerships that the school has with different companies. So I was able to go into marketing at a startup. Then I was able to do some private equity at KKR, some customer success at BounceX, and even go to live to New York City. So everything just kind of started unfolding by itself. But I must say that definitely my career really started when I got involved with clubs in the entrepreneurship center at Northeastern.
Love it. Love it. So we have our first question in chat, which by the way, y'all, everyone in the chat right now, if you have any questions, start putting them in. I'm going to start queuing up some questions to ask these panelists. And you can also ask them in our Discord server as well. We have a channel dedicated to drop your questions. But feel free to start asking questions. So we have Lily here who's asking our first question. Did you both have strong portfolios? Do you think that it was a make or break deal for getting those internships or jobs?
That's a really good question. For me, I didn't actually have to use a portfolio. I would say that the biggest piece of material that I provided that counted the most was my resume. And I think that that's just because of the specific role that I was going into. It was way more entry level. I didn't require as much like tangible material, just more so my ability to learn, be proactive, and collaborate. And so I think that for Apple specifically, if I was going into a more like tactical role, I think the portfolio would have been really necessary. But during my interview process, we really just did behavioral based questions, scenarios, case studies, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for me, I love that you said your resume was your portfolio also, because that is so true. Especially a lot of the positions that I had were also very strategic in some sense. Like it was marketing, it was project management. So it's really hard to show a portfolio of one, like those things, but also like protective, sensitive information that companies might have that you don't want to put out there. And I actually have a funny story. So the first time that I got asked for a portfolio was for my full-time job now. I used to only use my resume. And for one of the rounds, they were like, okay, let's do a portfolio review. And I don't know if my team is watching right now, but I was like, oh no, like, I don't know how am I going to do that? Like it's next week. So all that weekend, I started compiling all of the different projects that I had done and like accolades from different people that I had worked with, pictures of different like slide decks even. And I even created some case studies on like how would I approach certain like web design opportunities. And so I think I never had it. I wish I would have started sooner so, you know, you don't have to like do it in a week or so. But I think it was such an amazing experience because a lot of the times I wasn't a designer in high school and I didn't have design experience in college. So it was really good for me to have a place where I can put like all my project management, marketing, strategic stuff. And so I want to say portfolio shouldn't be just exclusive for designers. I think there's a lot of good creative ways in which you can like build your portfolio since you start your career job. So I would have started sooner. It did go really well, but honestly, like, yeah, save yourself the time and trouble.
And to your point, like I think what I learned to do, which I didn't call it a portfolio back then, but when I started working at Apple, I would just like keep everything when it came to the decks that I would make. Obviously, if it was something that was like, you know, non-disclosed, I would save that. But if it was mine, it was the copy that I wrote, I would save it and put it in a file. So that way, when it came down the line, not only could I reference back, but you start to realize, oh my gosh, I've done quite a few things. And so when it comes down to those next interviews and the next opportunity, everything's in that one place, but you're also reminded of all that you've done, because sometimes what you think is like a really small project actually means a lot more to another company or another opportunity.
Totally.
Yeah, totally feeling both of you on this topic. Just wanting to chime in. When I first got my very first role at Adobe, I was social media manager for one of our programs. My portfolio was a free website from Weebly that had like bullet points, some pictures, but I relied heavily on like my YouTube channel and my old blog that I used to run and my Instagram and what's it called, and my unpaid internship. Yes, it was unpaid. I did social for them, and like if anything, I remember during my interview they referenced they used their account and see like their growth and like the activity happening on there kind of as like the proof of my work. So I totally get like where you're coming from. I'm not a professional designer like you, Fernanda. Like I didn't have any of that design experience or anything at all, but you know, it did display my work and the stuff that I contributed. And like what Mykal-Michele said, like once I was in this role, then I was able to like start to collect those projects, you know, under my belt and those experiences, and started building my portfolio as I was growing with the role. So really, really feel you on that. We have so many other questions. I need to scroll a little bit. Let's see. Ooh, okay. We have a question from Allison. When you found what you wanted to do, was it a sudden click or was it something that grew onto you over time?
I can start. So, found what I wanted to do is a really funny statement because I don't know if I have yet found what I wanted to do, but I will say that I've definitely enjoyed the opportunity to just try different things. So, I think that the beauty of being in college and being young and interning is the opportunity to do just that, like try different things. Like I mentioned beforehand, I'm an English major and my concentration is writing and media. But I siloed myself in the pre-law track because that's just what I thought was all that I could do with the major, until I just got curious, started applying just to apply, and learned that for companies like Apple specifically, they focus so much on the humanities because of that creativity and that analysis and the critical thought process that goes into it. So when I learned that, I realized, oh, I can do so much more. So I feel like I started my what do I want to do journey like halfway through college. And I'm still learning. And the cool thing about Apple, and I'm sure other, tech companies as well, is that they encourage that discovery. So I'm super honest with my managers, with my team about, this being my first real entry into the corporate space. I don't know what I don't know, but I know that I want to learn it all and do as much as I can. And that also gives me the opportunity to take on different projects and learn what I like. So like the creativity aspect, like I mentioned, I used to think that I was only a writer, and now I write copy for notifications that go out to millions of people. Didn't even know that was a job. So I say that to say, like, I don't know if there's ever a knowing exactly what you want to do, but the staying curious definitely helps you try different things.
Yeah, I love this question because I think for me, it was also when I was starting college, I wanted to know like the name of the role, which I think is something that we're kind of alluding to. Like, what is going to be that role that I want? Like that position, like how does that look like? But suddenly, like after getting some experience with different companies, I realized that I wanted to ask myself not what I wanted to do, but like what skills do I want to build? Like who do I want to be also in the professional field? Like what will define me? What do I want to learn? And so I feel like combining that aspect of curiosity would also just being aware that I wanted to be good at design thinking, like whatever that meant, being an actual designer, being an entrepreneur, being working in venture. Like I wanted to be good at design thinking. I know this is weird, but I love documentation and like communication and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to be in a role that encourages me to like provide documentation and process improvement ideas. And so even though there is specific role for that in a company, like you want to find a role that has like multiple skills that you're interested in. And so I must say it wasn't like a sudden click, but throughout my time and work I started collecting like knowledge bits of what skills I really wanted to develop. And I was like, okay, this sounds good, I'm good at this. Communication, that sounds good. And so eventually when you're ready to find that role, or apply for that full-time job that will be a career of a lifetime almost, you want to make sure that that job fulfills like those biggest skills that you're like very eager to learn. So yeah.
That is such great advice. I yeah, I honestly second that, Fernanda, because like I just had like a crazy journey as well. I
Yeah.
thought I wanted to be like a full on, or I thought I wanted to be like a social media manager for the longest time, and then or maybe become a graphic designer. But then, that's just one facet of one of the things I like. And throughout like my whole career journey, I've done like so many other things. Like I created videos, did some design work, did some copywriting and stuff. Like I really floated around, and like you said, like look for jobs with what's it called, skills that you want to grow and sharpen. I think that's really great. So we have a question specifically for Mykal-Michele. This is from Abhinav, but I think Fernando, you can also chime in too from the Adobe side. So he says, I have a question for Mykal-Michele. What does Apple look for in a good marketer, and how does the selection process or hiring process work?
Okay, great question. So for the first half about being a marketer at Apple, I think Apple is a very team-oriented company. So the biggest, I feel like characteristic is that collaboration aspect. You can't get anything done without the help of your team or like working with other people. So when I first joined Apple and did my interview process, I had a lot of questions about my leadership style, as well as working on a team. Because what I knew before going to Apple, but it was confirmed when I got there, is that each person has a very important part of the team, but it's not enough to just do the job alone. So Apple's very, very big on collaboration and making sure that you are using all of your resources. Now, in terms of the interview process and like the best way to get in the door, I guess, I would say that like Apple tries to focus on diversity, but diversity in terms of like perspective. So sometimes you think that, oh, going into a tech company, maybe I don't code, or maybe I don't know as much about data, not as much about Excel, more quantitative work. But actually, I learned quite the opposite when I got to Apple, that the majority of my team had such diverse backgrounds from, Mandarin majors, anthropology. One of my managers majored in music, like just such diversity, because when you come all together as a team, you add such different perspectives. And I think that's what makes Apple so great. And I think my success at the company has come from me welcoming that diversity and also adding my own perspective. I go to an HBCU, it's an all women's college. I'm an English major. And those different pieces that add to my portfolio, I think help, because when it comes down to making the ideas and listening to customers and actually doing the marketing, it's all about the customer, but it means nothing if you can't relate to the customer and tell a story to the customer. So I would say work on those communication skills. Storytelling is everything, but collaboration is really the biggest piece.
Yeah, I'd say for Adobe is very similar. So right now, because I'm in the consulting wing, they're definitely looking for people that can bring diverse perspectives, especially when it comes to how to utilize data to make decisions. And it's so awesome to see how many people can see through one situation through different lenses, especially the type of data that you're looking for. So I'd say definitely in the interview process, like try to bring your own perspective of how you use data in your life. As like weird as it sounds, I promise, like it really does make sense when it comes to like working in these big tech companies. Another thing would be, I think Adobe definitely looks for people that are eager to make an impact in different collaborative senses, like making an impact in the team, but also making an impact like in the overall product development, in the overall like experience for the clients that Adobe might have. And so that's definitely a skill that I've seen in everyone. And again, curiosity, being able to learn, not only like learn for yourself, but learn from others. I'm starting this role with another UX design consultant. Her name is Jane, and I learn from her like every day too, even though we're both starting at the same time. And so definitely show through the interview process that you're willing to learn, not only like from people that might be above you, but also like from everyone around you, different like articles that you might read, different e-courses that you might take on the side. Learning is definitely at the core of everyone that I know at Adobe.
Mm-hmm. Love that. I have another question specifically for you, Fernanda. This is from Roche. Please correct me if I'm saying your name wrong, by the way. Fernanda, what is your special product niche or app in working for Adobe?
So the special, just to confirm, Katrina, if I'm understanding the question, like the specific product that I work with?
Yeah.
Okay. I work very much with Adobe Target, which is a tool that helps companies understand their users better through like conducting different types of tests, such as A/B tests, and provide like a very personalized experience to all of their users, which I think it's an amazing way to better get to know your traffic. And so one of the best things and things that I'm most excited about is bringing that UX perspective to that consulting process. So making sure that we're not only analyzing like what works better for the users, but how can we provide a really good user experience, whether it comes from web design, identifying growth opportunities. And so I'm still learning a lot about the product, but that's the specific product that I'm working with right now.
Nice. That is such a cool job. My gosh. Okay. So this question's for both of you. This is from Elizabeth. Would you say that completion of a degree is always a requirement if you want to work at a company like Apple or Adobe?
I would take a stab at Apple. I don't think it is a necessary component, but I think that it definitely can only help you. I mean, I definitely know of a lot of people who work at Apple who come from a multitude of backgrounds. Some people who come from the startup world, from people who came from their own startup, who didn't go to college to start their own thing, got it acquired by the company. I know people who have gone into an entry level role, who are, they're middle aged, they're not like right out of college. Like, you can come into the company at any time, with any background. I think the focus is more so just on the value that you would add to the team. So let's say you wanted to join the growth marketing team. We too do a lot of A/B test, and so the questions behind the interview process may not be about what major you did and what college you went to, but more so like, how would you facilitate this test? How would you create this journey? Look at this data, and how would you read it and interpret it? And then also communicating with the customers. So we do a lot about like story builds and communication, which are skills that you can gain in college, but these days you can also gain them outside of college. I have a few certifications. I know a lot of people on my team who do the certification route, to just gain skills that they wouldn't have gained in college. So I wouldn't let not having a college degree stop you from trying, because in this space, it's all about the diverse perspectives. And sometimes not going to school, not having a specific degree, gives you a different perspective than someone who does.
Yeah, even though I'm not part of the recruiting team, I want to say that as long as you show that you also have done great things with your time, I think that's absolutely valuable. I totally understand that some people might not want to go to college, or even don't maybe not have the resources to actually like go through all of the education. But I think that big companies that value diversity definitely do want to see like, okay, what are you interested in, and have you maybe done any projects outside that can show your skills in that sense. And so we were talking about earlier like a portfolio, so maybe with your time right now, like you can find different like case studies that you can create by yourself. And I know I keep saying case studies, and so just to backtrack a little bit, that just means like going, for example, through a website that you really love from a company, and like writing down what are some improvement opportunities that you would do, and maybe designing it, and like finding ways that you can showcase how would you improve that experience. And so I definitely think that if you can find opportunities that challenge you, whether it's through like online resources, or engaging in different courses, maybe at a university for a summer, certificates, I think that's an awesome idea to also challenge yourself, and also show other people like you definitely have the skills that they're looking for that role.
Love that. Okay, so for this next question, so this is both of your second times speaking, right, to our audience, correct? So what have you learned since you last spoke with us, since the last event? Which, by the way, if people in chat haven't seen the previous event that they did, go ahead and check that out after this event. It was a really good talk. But what have you learned since you last spoke with us at that event? And has anything changed? Any new advice? And if there's anything you'd like to tell your student or intern self, like what would it be,
I can go ahead and jump in. I think that for me, I've just been trying to finish school strong. So I'm in my second semester of my senior year, for context, everyone. So since the first one, I had already gained my full-time role back at Apple after the internship, and we talked a lot about that process. But since doing that, I've done a lot more professionally in the social media, like micro-influencing space, and creating content and figuring out ways to utilize my creativity in different ways before I go into my full-time role starting this summer. And I think that the biggest piece of advice that I've learned is to utilize the skills that I've learned this past summer, like in copywriting, creating content, creativity, making flyers, to add to my personal brand, because I've realized that there's opportunity in just a bunch of different spaces, like whether it be doing this Adobe event, or doing some events for some other brands, and figuring out ways to connect with their customers. even though it might not be for Apple, while I have the time and the bandwidth outside of school to do a few other projects, I'm able to still utilize those skills about connecting with customers and telling stories on a micro level, but still in a way that's fun and creative for me. So I think that what I've learned is just to keep pivoting, but figuring out how to build on my skills, because time keeps moving, but it doesn't mean that we have to just stop and wait, because I know even though I won't start work till summer, I'm able to still sharpen my skills in the meantime.
I love that. For me, I think my perspective did shift from like the last session that we had. I think a lot of my words, at least, or kind of the advice that I was trying to give, was like, find what you're good at and then find like your right role or skills. But honestly, the biggest shift that happened to me from my last internship to now was being comfortable and aware of what I was not good at, but I wanted to be good at. And so you can go through college like thinking like, oh, I'm good at marketing and entrepreneurship and project management, so I'm going to go there. But then I felt this kind of like nudge that was like, I want to be good at design. I want to be good at designing like amazing web experiences and personalizing journeys and like creating empathy maps and user journeys. Like that sounds so cool. I want to be good at that, but I kind of had to sit down and be comfortable with the fact that I don't know where to start. Like I have no idea how I'm going to learn this. But then talking to other people, finding mentors, and like actually being aware that it's okay not to know, and taking it one step at a time and finding opportunities to learn and eventually apply to that job that you're like dying to like learn more about. And so my perspective definitely shifted from what am I good at to like what I want to be good at. And I really encourage you to think like, what is it that really like makes you very passionate, like a thing that makes you very passionate to learn, because you'll find a lot of answers there for the ideal career.
Nice. That is so cool to hear that so much has changed since we last talked and that y'all are just on your way and just doing amazing things. All right, so we're going to take a break from the Q&A portion, and now we're going to have both Mykal-Michele and Fernanda show us some really fun projects that they've made in Creative Cloud Express. And if you haven't heard of Creative Cloud Express before, it is Adobe's newest tool for creatives and creative communicators. Sorry, that line gets me every time. For creatives and creative communicators to make graphics and assets and so many projects quickly and easily. So it's perfect if you're just beginning in your design journey, or if you're a non-designer like me, or if you just like making really fun projects. It's a great tool to get started. And I think we'll start with Mykal-Michele. What are you going to teach us today?
Awesome. So today I'm going to show everybody a demo of me creating a flyer. And for context, the flyer, I talked about, being in clubs and things at school and creating copy and content for Instagram and things. So I'm going to show you guys how I would do that. So first I'll just talk over while it's going. I love this application because I'm not like somebody who's able to work with Photoshop that well. I don't really have that many ideas on like color concepts, pictures, but these templates are so easy to remix, and they're so easy to work with whatever I'm working for maybe a school project or a school club. So for context, I'm in an organization called Pulse, and it stands for Programming for Unique and Lively Spelman Experience. And we host events for the student body to engage, cultivate community, and basically just have fun on campus. And my job as a social media coordinator is to create flyers like this. Now, I rely on Creative Cloud Express all the time for these templates, because when I have a deadline and someone says, Mykal, I need you to post at 12 o'clock, I need it blasted all over campus, I can do this within 5 minutes and just change the colors around. I can put in my information where their information is, and it's easy to send to my friends, to post on social media, but also send through text message, email, etc. So as you can see here, I'm remixing this template. I'm using what's already there, just putting in my own information. The time would be 6 o'clock to 7. This event in particular would be called a sip and paint. We do this pretty regularly. But just because I like the template doesn't mean that it's perfect yet. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through the icons. I'm trying to figure out the best way to illustrate what the event is going to be. Now, sip and paint, obviously, we know that we're going to be having mocktails, painting, but maybe other people don't know that. So as you can see here, I'm finding a paintbrush. I'm trying to figure out what might look the best. I pick a couple options, move it around. The cool thing about these templates is that you're not forced to keep what's already there. So even though I liked the little glasses on the side, maybe I move them over and put the paintbrushes somewhere. It's all really up to what I want to do. Now, shifting gears a little bit, I didn't really talk about how me creating this content has helped me professionally, but my managers at Apple really, really love the work that I do using Creative Cloud Express because they're able to see that I'm able to not only work on the back end of the writing and the content, but I can create it if needed. It just adds a really creative aspect to my portfolio. And we already talked about the importance of portfolio, the importance of a resume. But my managers loved my involvement in school. And something that I love to do is work in social media. So I try to capitalize on it as much as possible. Now, I talked about some of the transitions that I made since our last talk and working in the social media space. This app makes it so easy to do so. Now, as you can see here, I'm literally just using the template. It looks a little bit different now, but still at its core the same. I'm adding our icon, and pretty soon here you'll see me try to figure out what colors I can use. But the great thing is because I put my icon there, I can just figure out what colors are in there and attach it to that background. You'll see me moving my little paint stick around. It's kind of funny doing this and then saying it out loud. But yeah, it's that simple. See, a little too bright, but it's okay because in a second you'll see me fix it. I love Creative Cloud Express because it's that easy. And then once I'm done figuring out the finishing touches, I'll move some things around. I'll play with the fonts. But I mean, honestly, with the amount of different flyers that they're created, there's not really much of a need to add too much change because there's diversity in all of them. If you were to go onto our social media account, you'd see tons of flyers, and people ask all the time, who makes them? How do you do this? Is there a graphic designer behind them? I'm like, no, it's just me.
No,
it's just little me using Creative Cloud Express. And I know that the final project may look a little bit more complex than what it is, but it's really that simple. So as you can see here, I've made a whole flyer. I'm just about ready to post it after I change these to white. And now you're ready for, the Pulse Sip and Paint at Lower Manly in the Student Center. So yeah, that's it for me.
Wow, that is so cool, man. I have yet to get into like editing stuff on mobile because I'm usually like what's it called? I usually do all my stuff on desktop. So to see like mobile tutorials and stuff is so cool. I need to get into it. It looks so easy. Oh my gosh.
It's so easy. I used to do the same. I used to use desktop until I realized, wait, my phone is just as powerful. Like I can do this on the bus, on the train, on the plane, wherever.
Yeah, I definitely need to get into it. And people in chat, let us know. Do you like to create projects on desktop or on mobile? I'd love to see like what device people like using. All right, Fernanda, do you want to show us what you made?
Yes. First of all, I wish I would have discovered Express when I was in college because that would have made my life so much easier. And even in high school, like that would have been awesome back then. But today we're going to talk about resumes. If you know me on LinkedIn, I have a lot of opinions about traditional resumes. Not that they're bad at all or anything, but at the same time, I do think that there is an amazing way for you to showcase your personality and who you are through the interview process. And so today, I'm going to be creating a resume from my traditional version into a more creative and fun one, assuming that I'm also presenting a portfolio with all the details. And by details, I'm going to talk a little bit about like the specific bullet points under my resume. Honestly, Express has so many amazing templates for you to use. And so I know that I wanted to use something a bit more fun this time. So I'm creating this one, playing a lot with the colors and like using different schemes, I think definitely can bring out different aspects of your personality. I know that for my first like design resume, I chose the colors like hot pink and purple, like very bright purple, and like a picture of myself in the corner. And I just thought that it would be a good addition to like all of the roles that I was applying, since I was doing a lot of technical roles, whether it was like a business analyst or project management, and I wanted to stand out from those resumes. And so a resume like this one definitely was a good option for me. And so right now in Express, it's really easy to edit the text from the actual template, put your contact information, as well as looking at the different sections that they had. Right now they have an about, experience one, but this is kind of the final version of what I created. And so it is more me, definitely, than the right one. I deleted the reference section because that was not relevant for the resume that I was going for. I added more experience, made sure that the color was also going aligned with the picture that I was adding here. Added a little bio about myself, which I think is such an amazing way for also employers to get to know more about you. And I also added different icons at the bottom linking to my LinkedIn, my portfolio that I developed using Adobe Spark, and also highlighting the different skills that I have. I love doing this in a graphic way, showing that I'm very strong at being observant, very strong with design thinking. I have some area to grow in data analysis, but when it comes to social media, I'm great. And so in here, I even made this by myself. It wasn't part of the template, but Express is so easy in a way that like really allows you to tap into that. A lot of companies have different requirements for the resume, but this is just a great way for, in my experience, to set apart. And this is definitely assuming that I have a portfolio that includes a lot of details about my experience. In my opinion, like it does showcase a lot of my personality compared to the traditional one on the right. And I get to use it also when I use my LinkedIn profile. And so if you're interested, definitely, I have a whole article on my LinkedIn profile on like resumes, my experience with them. But I just think that if you're able to show your skill set through your resume, it definitely can set you apart from other applicants.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I have yet to make my resume on Express, but I am so jealous because my resume is the traditional one right now. Not saying that it's bad, like some jobs will like want the more traditional format and stuff, but being in a creative role, having a little splash of color, never hurt anybody. So so we have so many people in chat. Oh, a lot of people answered my poll. We got a lot of desktop users, lots of people doing mobile. NJ uses Express on the phone. So many different devices and different workflows in the chat. People said, oh, Andrea said, very nice on both the projects. Katie said, love the resume. So people definitely are vibing with the projects that y'all demonstrated. And thank you so much for doing that. Cool. Okay, so I'm trying to see, do we have any more questions in chat? We do have time for a couple more. So this question's from Madison. So if you're really interested in interning or working with a specific company, but they don't have any openings for interns, how would you approach reaching out to them?
Great question. Oh, I can jump into this one just because, I got a thought. But this is where networking comes into play. And I want to make sure that people know that networking can sound very intimidating and like in some way just kind of like, oh, why would I talk to someone that I'm not going to be friends with potentially? But networking is such a great way to build relationships for future openings like this one. And so there has been multiple times in the past where I'm really interested in a company and a role and they don't have any openings. And so what I've done is, with the power of LinkedIn, reached out to someone in their team, and without being like, hey, can you like let me know when there's an internship posting, asking them a question that I generally want to know about their role to know if it would be the right fit. So I reach out with something like very specific that they can answer very easily, that doesn't require like a 30-minute phone call or anything, and maybe something in common, like reaching out to people that maybe work at the company from your university or like a different group that they were part in high school is such a good way to like build that rapport. And so reach out to them, ask them that question. If you think it's a fit and you're more interested, like developing that relationship through LinkedIn, and then if the person is open, definitely scheduling a call to introduce yourself. I think it's such a great way to have them know that you're in the radar, that you're interested in a role that might open up in the future. Because when an internship comes, they'll think of you right away. They'll be like, oh, this person reached out to me 6 months ago. Like they're in my radar. So I think a lot of the times, build those relationships via LinkedIn or like networking events if they're happening in your area, because great things can come out from them.
Yeah, I echo literally everything that you said. Networking is everything, especially as a college student. Like, there are so many opportunities, companies coming to campus, there's career fairs. And like you said, people who are just willing to help people that maybe they have something in common with, or maybe they don't. You just never know. So it's really just about putting yourself out there. And I know we keep hitting that curious,
Yeah.
tagline, but it's so important because when I think about all my networking within Apple and outside via LinkedIn, my approach has always just been, do you have just a couple minutes, 5 to 10, just to let me know about your role? Like, what do you do? Not even necessarily like I want something from them, but I just want to learn. I know a lot of people do not like the idea of, can I just, tap your brain or that? No, it's more specific than that. But just letting them know that you are curious and are intentional about, said role and said position. LinkedIn can be a really, really great tool. And, I still, even with my own job, I regularly am networking because there's just so much to learn. And it coming from a genuine place of just, I'm 22, I'm entering the professional space. There's a lot that I don't know. What advice would you give me? What would you tell your 22-year-old self? What would you tell yourself who's about to graduate college? Those are the kind of questions that I've been asking. And most of the time I'm met back with positive reactions because people remember, like, oh, I remember being, back in that space, and this is what I was thinking. I wish I did this. So yeah, that's my biggest advice. Just put yourself out there.
Yeah. And I just want to say that when you connect with someone, worst case, they don't open a position, they can always become your mentor. And I think that's been like the greatest gift that I received. I know in college, I connected with a UX researcher at like my favorite skincare company. And I was so excited. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? And she became my mentor. And like, I think she's one of the greatest people in that industry that I've met. I've learned a lot from her. So even though we didn't work at the same company or the same team, we were able to learn a lot from each other. And so those relationships can end up also in mentorship, which is also great.
I have one more thought too. I
Go
think
for it.
networking across versus up sometimes can be super beneficial, like as well. Like even just speaking with Fernanda right now, I'm learning so much from you. And in terms of like career level, it's not necessarily me trying to connect with somebody who's the vice president of a company, but you just never know what you can learn from people and how you can stay connected throughout your professional journeys, like down the line. Who knows where we'll be in 5 years, 10 years. I know we'll be successful putting it out there, but you just never know. And those connections do last. So the networking across is sometimes just as important. And even in Apple, we're taught that too, because like I said, it's very team oriented. So it isn't really much about, moving up a level or moving up a company, but more so just learning from your peers.
Right.
Boom. Love that. And so with that, I think we can now transition into the next thing. So since we're all I'm feeling super inspired right now, and I'm sure everyone in the chat is. So to get people even more pumped and a bit more inspired with what y'all had to say, I think we should now let's just talk about the giveaway. I'm really excited. So we have we have even more than that. We have a couple remixable templates made with Creative Cloud Express. And, we want to know who your dream company or client is that you'd like to work for. And we're going to manifest it. We're going to put it out there into the universe. And like what these ladies said, we're going to do it on LinkedIn because they both said it is a great tool for networking, for reaching out to people. So I feel like this is a great spot to plug in the giveaway. So here is the library of templates. We'll have one of our mods put in the chat, and just it's super easy. We're just going to click into a template. We're going to let it load real quick. But basically, so for this giveaway, we're going to be giving away free 1-year Creative Cloud licenses, as well as a mentoring session with both Mykal-Michele and Fernanda. So if you really loved what they were saying today, you feel inspired, you want to talk with them further, please enter this giveaway. And my computer is taking forever to load right now. I'm running a million things, so just bear with me. But yeah, so once you remix a template, all you have to do is like plug in your own photo, and as well as the company name. So I'm just gonna quickly do it right here. You're just gonna click on the photo, hit replace, add in a cute little headshot. Or not. There are some templates where you don't have to have a photo. So if you don't want to put a photo, that's totally fine. I like to use my Lightroom. We're just going to click it. Wherever your photo is stored, just replace the photo like that. Delete the placeholder text for the company name. Just put the company you want to work for, like, is it Apple? Is it Tesla? Is it Adobe? It could be really anything. So we're just going to replace it. Put in Adobe. Resize it, and you can also change the color. Feel free to get creative with it. Put in the logo, change the text altogether. Really express yourself with that. Oh, I said express. Sorry, a little funny moment. No pun intended. And then once you're done, just hit download, share it on LinkedIn using the hashtag Adobe Dream Job or hashtag Express It, for a chance to be randomly selected for a mentoring session with either Fernanda or Mykal-Michele, and a free year Creative Cloud subscription. And bonus points if you post it on Discord. We do have a channel for a challenge entry. So if you really want to get your entry in front of our eyes, feel free to post them here as well, either a link to the actual post on LinkedIn, or you could post the project in here. And yeah, so again, while we're on the topic of Discord, again, we're having an after party in the Creative Career Discord, where you can hang out and ask Mykal-Michele and Fernanda more questions. We're about at that time where we have to wrap it up a little bit. So apologies if we didn't get to your question on the live, but we're going to be hanging out in there for an extra like 30 minutes or so to continue the conversation and answering your questions. But if you can't make it to the after party, no worries. You can connect with us on social. We'll have our handles in the chat. You can follow Mykal-Michele or Fernanda. But just so folks can hear it again, where can they find you all on social? Mykal-Michele, go first.
Everyone can find me one on LinkedIn. It's just Mykal-Michele, same spelling as here. And then I'm also on Instagram. It's Mykal.Michele, MYKAL.MICHELE.
Nice. And Fernanda?
LinkedIn, it's /Fernanda G Lopez. G is my middle name, just the letter G. So that's why.
Perfect. And also, we'd love your feedback on this event so that we can make them even better for you in the future. So please take a moment to fill out our post-event survey. The link is in the chat and on the screen. We have so many people in chat. Katie says, great job. Sunda said this was a great event. Calvin said, thank you all for sharing your experience. Thank you all so much for being here. And all right, with that said, that wraps it up for this session. Thank you all so much for joining. And thank you so much, Mykal-Michele and Fernanda, for joining us today. And we will see everybody in Discord.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.